Hi, I'm Bob Peters, host of Salute, and you're watching Salute. I'm going to be here at Gator Harley-Davidson to interview a Medal of Honor recipient, Sammy Davis, and talk about Vet Fest, a 4-day event that went on here in Lake County.
Please join me in pledging allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
We're going to come out here to the stop sign. Eustis PD is going to direct you guys, but we're going to come to the stop sign. Take a
I'm here at Vet Fest. They're going to have some great prizes or awards or donations, however you want to put it, to raise money for One Team, One Fight and the ride home. And I have with me an artist and a dear friend and a veteran, Oscar Morrison. I almost said Bob. I kid around, call him Bob. Oscar, tell us a little bit about this.
All right, this is a piece of cork from a bald cypress tree. It's the base of a dead cypress tree. It's hard wood to find, but it's really light, and I just used it because I could shave it out more. Got the rattlesnake, which is like a ceramic that I got from Hobby Lobby, and then just played around with epoxies and got it lit up. And went ahead and put the theme on there, Don't Tread on Me. And we auctioned it off for free canes for veterans last year, and I think Keith Totten from One Team, One Fight for PTSD bought it. Now he wants to return the favor, and he's putting it out tonight to auction it off.
I'm here now with Oscar, and Keith has joined us from One Team, One Fight. The proceeds from this are going to go towards your organization and the Last Ride, which is our Vietnam Veterans Group. And you want to tell me a little bit what you got planned? You got a lot going on this weekend, right?
Yeah, we had the moving wall escort, which we had yesterday. We had the ceremony at 1800, which was very well. Tonight we have the gala, and we have an amazing group here. Tomorrow we have a 5K in the morning time. We have a bicycle race. Noontime we have a bed race. And then we have an escort again from Gator Harley-Davidson all the way back to City of Eustis, being held, or actually being led by the Congressional Medal of Honor winner, Sammy Davis. After that, we'll have another ceremony. Sunday, we will have our first Veterans Day Parade right here in Eustis, and that will be at 4 o'clock. And then we'll have a closing ceremony thereafter at the Vietnam Memorial Wall.
Well, I got to give it to you and the committee for all you do. I am looking forward to the parade. You know, as a Vietnam veteran, we didn't see too many parades. But I'm happy to, I'm going to walk with somebody. I don't know who I'm walking with, but I'm walking in it. And I'm also going to walk with Michael Bach tomorrow.
Wonderful.
Yeah, hopefully I'll make it. If not, you have somebody pick me up, right?
I'll carry you.
He'll carry me. I'm going to walk around a little bit. There's some people here I'd like you to meet. One of them is my partner on the radio, Colonel Keith Oliver. Keith, you know, I know we talk on the radio, and I know I've got a face for radio, but you and I now are going to be on TV, on YouTube.
Fair enough.
And tell us what you know about yourself a little bit, and who do you work for?
Well, I do a little writing for the Daily Commercial, and pretty patriotic outfit. They've even got a parking space reserved for Purple Heart recipients. You got to love it. But in the salute section, every Saturday, and Bob Peters helps me get the word out on WQBQ, every Saturday is the salute section with a profile on a veteran, one of our Lake or Sumter County veterans, and then a column they let me write, LZ Laycock. And it's
this going to go out on YouTube, so people want to check you out on YouTube. What would be a web page or something?
Well, if they'll just go to dailycommercial.com and just type in LZ Laycock or even veterans, and you'll see so much about what we've got going in Lake and Sumter counties and the enormous amount of talent we've got among our veterans, to include the active duty guys who we hope we get to come back here one day when their hitch is over.
Yeah, we have a lot of veterans in Lake County. It's a great place to live, and I think we're getting ready to start. So
do that.
I'll see you later, Colonel.
Oh, thanks, buddy. God bless.
I'm here now with the honor of being with a Medal of Honor recipient, Mr. Sammy Davis, United States Army. You went in 1966.
Right out of high school.
What made you go in?
What I owed my country. Same thing my grandpas and my dad and my older brothers had all done, and it was my turn. I graduated from high school and joined the Army.
Where you from originally?
Well, I was born at Wright Pat Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. And then Dad got out and went to work in the oil field, and we lived everywhere.
So you were a military brat?
Well, kind of, sort of, yes, sir.
You know, Harley-Davidson does a lot for veterans, and especially this Gator Harley-Davidson right here. They also store the motorcycles for the troops when they get deployed. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
Well, I'm putting a good word out for Gator Harley. But you've been here for the 4-day Vet Fest, which is quite a thing. And you want to tell me how you feel about being here and how you got here?
The Vet Fest has been phenomenal, and I attend a lot of fests over the years. And the Vet Fest, the people that I've met, I'm extremely impressed with. The people of the town, I'm extremely impressed with. So it's an honor to be here with everybody.
Sammy, how long were you in the Army?
I was in active Army 3 years, and I was medically retired. And then I went home, and General Westmoreland and the governor of Illinois, which was where we were moving, were good friends. And they wanted a Medal of Honor recipient to join the Illinois Guard. And so they worked out a special deal. As being medically retired, I wasn't supposed to be able to join the military again, but they worked it out, and I stayed in for 18 years.
Oh, God bless you.
And then was medically retired again, really.
Well, we do have a video that we're going to play that talks all about your situation when you were in. But, you know, we were at the dinner last night, and they had... you were there with your book and your beautiful wife, and she has a book.
Yes, sir.
And you want to tell us the name of the books? Tell us a little bit about them.
My book is You Don't Lose Till You Quit Trying. And that's my theory of life, is that no matter what you're faced with in life, you don't lose till you quit trying. Dixie's book is Endless Love and Second Chances. And her book is about us and how we got together and the stories. My book's a good book. Dixie's book's an awesome book.
Good move on your part.
It's true.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I imagine she had to go through a lot when you came back, because when we all came back.
Dixie and I weren't married when I was in Vietnam. Dixie and I have only been married 15 years. Both of our spouses passed. Dixie's husband was a 3-tour Navy corpsman, and me and my wife was married 35 years. Both of them died from cancer. And we were all friends. Dixie's husband, Tim, and I had been brothers since the 70s. He was Martin and Holiday, the entertainment group, the band. He was Holiday. And I'd known Tim ever since the 70s. So Dixie had always been my sister, my brother's wife, after both our spouses passed. And it had probably been at least 12 years since we'd actually seen each other. Now, we had emailed and texted each other, but we hadn't seen each other for at least 12 years. And we got together, and she gave me a hug, and I realized that wasn't a sister hug.
Well, I'm happy for you. I'm happy you found each other. And the book, where would somebody get the book?
Well, you can get it off Amazon. Get it at Barnes Noble bookstore. Or you can contact me, and I'm easy to find.
I got a couple of copies. I'll check it out, and
Cool.
I'll let you know what I think.
Yes, sir. Good.
You know, so you travel a lot?
We're on the road 200-plus days a year. Yes, sir. Traveling and speaking, trying to encourage America to stand up for what you believe is right in your heart. I try very hard not to preach individual politics. I want America to stand up.
I agree with you there, because I don't do any political stuff, because as you know, and I tell everybody, when the bullets fly, they don't care if you're black, white, you know, independent, whatever, Republican or Democrat. It doesn't matter. Sure. So, you know, we were all in this together, all brothers together.
That's right.
I really enjoyed that wall. They did a nice presentation, Eustis.
Every experience that I've had at the wall has been fantastic.
So where are you headed from here?
We get to go home for 4 days, and then we will be in Jacksonville, Florida, speaking.
Oh, great. Great. So I think you're going to have to get going here pretty soon. I know we were waiting for you, and it has been my honor to meet you. And, you know, we are both Vietnam veterans. So welcome home, brother.
Home, brother.
This video we're about to watch, tell me a little bit about the Forrest Gump type thing. What's this about?
The Forrest Gump. In the movie Forrest Gump, when Forrest is being presented the Medal of Honor, that is my original film footage of when President Johnson awarded me the Medal of Honor. They just put Tom's face over mine. In the movie Forrest Gump, if it has to do with the military, it's based on fact, and it's based on me. The rest of the movie lightly touches my life. The rest of the movie is movie. You know, if you go like this and you chop down 3 trees in a movie.
I was working at a bowling alley. I ran the restaurant at a bowling alley, and we had a television, and there came a very short clip of the president putting the Medal of Honor on Roger Donlon. And he just, you know, standing so tall and so straight. And now, because of the military people in my family, I was very aware of what the Medal of Honor was. And I thought, wow, you know, when I grow up, I'd like to be a soldier like him.
In 1965, after finishing high school, Sammy Davis enlisted in the Army. His father had been an artilleryman during World War II, and he volunteered to do the same. Upon the completion of training, he requested to be sent to Vietnam.
Our job was to provide close and continuous support to the infantry. That's the artilleryman's job. So we would sometimes have to fire almost continuously for 8 or 10 hours. As long as the enemy was attacking our infantrymen, you had to do your job. And then you may lay around for a day or 2 days and not do much. Then you cleaned everything and painted everything and polished your bullets. Sergeant James Gant from Lansing, Michigan, he was the meanest sergeant I've ever seen in my life. And he would make us take each bullet out of our clip every night before it got dark and polish it. He was just a bitter old man. Sergeant Gant was 27 years old. You know, he was just a bitter old sergeant, and that's why he was picking on us.
On November 18, 1967, Davis's unit was airlifted to a tiny island in the Mekong Delta near Kai Lay, Vietnam. American infantrymen were already heavily engaged in the area when Davis and his fellow gunners arrived.
So we landed at 8 o'clock in the morning. As soon as we spread the trails on the 105 howitzer, we started firing, and we fired the weapon all day. Just before dark, the enemy broke contact, so therefore we were able to quit firing, and a helicopter, one of our helicopters, came in and sat down, and a major got out. And he said, your probability of getting hit tonight is 100%. So prepare yourselves. He got back in his helicopter, and away he went. At 2 o'clock exactly, and I remember because I looked at my watch, we heard mortars sliding down the tube, which is a very distinctive sound, and to hear them sliding down the tube, you got to be pretty close. And I said immediately, I said, well, when did we move in mortars? And Hart said, we didn't. The mortars were just raining down. And at 2:30 exactly, the mortars quit. It was this eerie quiet. We looked at each other, and we heard whistles being blown like a coach has, and orders being shouted in English. And basically what they were saying was, go kill the GI. Sergeant Gant said, okay boys, this is it. So we grabbed a beehive round, set it on muzzle action, loaded it in the tube, and we were standing there at our position ready for him. I was waiting for Sergeant Gant to tell me to fire. Now, I knew not to fire until he said fire no matter what was happening, and I could see the enemy all around us. They were doing mass assault waves. Then he said fire, and I pulled the lanyard. Well, the weapon went off, did its job, but the enemy had set up a rocket right across the river from me. And when I fired, they fired at my muzzle blast. When it hit the shield, it blew me off the piece. It also hit Sergeant Gant right in the chest. And the last thing I can remember was Sergeant Gant just disappearing into the darkness. Well, the enemy started turning my howitzer around, supposedly to turn it and fire at our guys. If I'd been awake, I would have known that our next gun back was going to fire a beehive round. Standing rule is you never let the enemy take control of the weapon. You know, common sense. But I was not, I was unconscious. So when the enemy started picking my howitzer up to fire it, Bill Few from Rising Sun, Ohio, fired the beehive. A beehive round effectively turns the 105 howitzer into a shotgun. It fires 18,000 little darts, beehive darts. From mid-thigh up to and including my 4th lumbar vertebra, I had about 30 beehive holes that just passed through me. I had a flak jacket on, which is the only thing that saved my back. When they fired the beehive at me, it woke me up, and I rolled over and I rolled face up in the bottom of my foxhole, and I'm looking up and I could see all these pretty lights going right over the top of my foxhole, and I thought, wow, it's just like Christmas. My hearing went like turning the stereo from 0 to 50. You know, went from hearing nothing within just a very short period of time. It got loud enough that the smoke started clearing out of my head, and I'm starting to realize what's happening, and those weren't just pretty lights, they were tracers. So I kind of raised up on one elbow, and I looked down, and there was 150 to 200 enemy right there. Well, I picked up my M16. I had 12 clips, which is roughly about 180 rounds. And I started doing my job as a soldier. It was just like living in a bad dream. You know, no matter what I did, it's like I wasn't doing nothing to them. It was a reinforced battalion. It was 1,500 against 42 kids, and they just kept coming. Well, I fired the last rounds, and I didn't think that I was probably going to see daylight, but I wasn't going to quit. You know, because I thought, well, if I don't do my job, those guys behind me ain't got a chance. So I thought, well, I'll see if I can get off one round from the howitzer. So I scrounged around, found a beehive round, set it on muzzle action, found the canister that had not been fired, had to find the powder because we'd had everything set up nice and orderly, and naturally the mortars had blown everything askew. Now the enemy's still doing their job. I mean, they're everywhere. So I was having to hide and lay in the water, and they'd run over me, and finally when I found all the components and I loaded the piece, I pulled the lanyard. The gun didn't go off. It went, when I pulled the lanyard, it went pop, and my heart just sunk, you know, because this was my last effort. But I could feel the gun kind of going. And then it went off, and it went boom. I had overcharged it. Figured I was only going to get one round. I wanted it to be maximally effective, so I filled the canister full of loose powder. Later they told me, says, yeah, man, we thought that you had rigged up some kind of big flamethrower or something because of all that wet powder. That's why it didn't go off immediately. Well, I was still alive. I thought, well, maybe I can get off one more round. Well, I one more rounded it until I had heard someone across the river shouting, "Don't shoot, I'm a GI." And I seen Gwendell Holloway, my brother, standing up waving these boonie hats saying, "Don't shoot, I'm a GI." And I said, my God, somebody's got to go get him. By this point, my body was in real feeble condition, and I knew I couldn't just run down there and swim across the river. So I thought, well, I'll find an air mattress. That's what the Army had given us to sleep on. So I crawled down to the river, swam across the river, stashed the air mattress in the bushes, and started making back to where I'd last seen Gwendell standing. There was a foxhole there. And instead of just one man being in it, there were 3 men in it. Well, I knew I didn't have the strength to make 3 trips. It had taken me about 45 minutes to make that trip over to that point. and I was just getting so tired. So I asked the man above to give me the strength to carry all 3 of my brothers at one time.
Despite his massive injuries and the unremitting ferocity of the Viet Cong attack, Davis made 2 agonizing trips across the river, shuttling his wounded companions to relative safety.
They pulled Jim up on the bank and started doing what they could for him, and I started crawling back to help Bill Few's guys when I came across my mean old Sergeant Gant. About half his body was in water, had this big hole in his chest, and he couldn't talk, but he picked his hand up. And I thought, my sergeant wants me to hold his hand. So I kind of crawled up and I grabbed a hold, and I still was hoping that he was going to tell me what to do next, you know. And I grabbed a hold of his hand and I looked down in his eyes. The light bulb that comes on in your head that your daddy always told you about, the light bulb came on. All these things that he had, you know, polishing the bullet, the beehive round, setting the time fuse on it, setting out in 100-degree heat with a blindfold. Sergeant Gant shared with us the things that he knew was going to help us survive. And when I looked down in his eyes, I knew that he didn't hate me, that he loved me. You got to love somebody a whole lot to pick on them and teach them things. Jim Deister was one of the last people that we loaded on the helicopters. He was with our dead. The medic in the helicopter seen a bubble come up through the chest wound that Jim had in his chest. He had been shot in the chest also. And took his stethoscope off and put it on his heart and had a heartbeat. And Jim Deister is alive and well today, living in Salina, Kansas. I got to hold Jim Deister's grandbabies. What an awesome feeling, knowing that if I hadn't done my job when I was just a kid, that this precious little thing would not be here. There were 11 of us left standing that morning out of the 42 that started, 12 counting me. The other 11 men are the men that put me in for this. I didn't do anything heroic. I did my job. That's what soldiers do. And if there was one of these given that night, there should be at least 42 of them. Because if any one of us had not done their job, there would be none of us alive. It sounds silly perhaps to say that I went to war and found out about love. What real love is? You know, I didn't go to war to kill people. I went to war because I loved my daddy. I wanted him to be proud of me. I went to war because I loved my grandpas and I loved my country. And when I got over there, the reason why we fought so hard was because we discovered we loved each other, that we were all we had. And they became brothers. We became brothers. And that's lasted up, you know, it's been 36 years and those men that I fought with are still my brothers. So I learned about what real love is.
To all our veterans out there, active military and their families, we salute you for all you do. Till next time. Okay, thank you, brother.
Thank you, sir.